بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. So now we're moving on to An-Nida and the rules of Nida. So the Nida is also, the Munada is also one of those words whose amil is mahdhuf. Yes? So Al-Khamis, meaning the fifth type, where the amil is mahdhuf, is the Nida. So what we say here is بِحَرْفٍ يَقُومُ مَقَامَ أَدْءُ. So Nida, to call somebody using a particle which stands in place of ad'u. So the grammarians have come up with this theory that when you say ya, it really means ad'u. That's why the word after is mansoob. Ya Abdullah mean ad'u Abdullah. Yes. So the amil is mahdhuf and the qa'im maqam ya stands in its place. Yes, is that clear to everybody? It's simple stuff. Achha, this is also very easy, but just to make it very clear so we know exactly what we have, we say لِلنِّدَاءِ ثَلَاثَةُ أَرْكَانٍ. There are three rukn of nida. الأول فعل النداء المحذوف. The فعل النداء which is محذوف وهو أدعو أو نحوه. Something like أدعو or something like that will be assumed to be hidden. Number two, حرف النداء القائم مقام الفعل المحذوف. This is a dhamma is wrong here. Yes. So the حرف النداء which is قائم مقام of the فعل محذوف. Correct? Which is example ya. And the munada وهو المدعو. The munada is the mad'u, the thing or the person being called. For example, Zaydun, when we say ya Zayd, Zayd becomes the munada. So, ya is the harfun nida, Zayd is the munada, and the fa'l mahdhuf is the fa'lun nida, which is ad'u. Everybody knows this. Let's make it clarified. Now, the hurufun nida, وَهَذِهِ الْأَحْرُفْ سَبْعَةٌ. There are 7 types of harfun nida, even though in our normal, the language that we use in terms of our literature, like the Quran, Hadith, the literature based on that, is you only probably have ya is the most common one. However, in poetry, etc., we find a bit more. So, Al-Hamza wa ayl al-munada al-qareeb, Abdullah. So, Hamza is not even used that common, but it's Abdullah. You find it in poetry more often. So, O Abdullah or Ay Abdullah. So both of these mean ya. Both of these mean calling. But these are to call somebody who is close. So or ay is when you're close. Ya, aya, haya. What do we have here now? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Lil ba'id. So ya Abdullah would imply you're a bit further away. And then we have one which is not necessarily for calling somebody, but is used to express pain. Wa. So we call it here, you say wa. So wa Zaida. And this is a separate discussion altogether. We'll discuss this in another video later on. It's after nida. So when I sing the same, wa ra'sa. I got a headache. When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was feeling unwell in his last sickness, when he started to feel well, he said, wa ra'sa. Like, oh, my head is hurting me. So wa ra'sa. So wa is like, he's not calling his head, but he's just expressing pain on the Ras. So it's when you have pain or you express the word wa, we'll do that later on inshallah. So there's 7 of them. 6 are used to actually call somebody, and 1 is a majaz fin nida. You're not actually calling them, but it's a majaz. Acha. There are certain places where the harfun nida can be removed. So you have the hadaf of the harfun nida. For example, قَدْ يُحْضَفُ حَرْفُ النِّدَاء. The harfun nida can be removed in كَانَ الْمُنَادَى مُضَافًا. In كَانَ الْمُنَادَى مضافا. For example, اعملوا آل داوود شكرا. So now we have here is اعملوا شكرا. اعملوا شكرا. Now آل داوود is what? The munada. اعملوا يا آل داوود شكرا. O family of Dawood, O people of Dawood, do shukr. Correct? Now, because al is mudaf ilay, when you make it mansoob, you kind of understand straight away, well, there's a munada, it's a munada. It's a bit context. So when the munada is mudaf ilay, what can happen? We can have the structure. Number 2 is an alam. Again, context. This is context, this is qarina. This is almost like qarina what? Lafziya. Qarina lafziyatun. What is it? Qarina lafziyatun. This is what? Qarina lafziya. Or alaman. So Yusuf, when you have a name, it's a high possibility of calling that person. So even in an alam, you can have the munada, the harfun nida mahzuf. Yusuf, a'rid an hadha. Even our day-to-day language, we don't say ya. We don't say, oh Abdul Hamid, I summoned thy. Well, say Abdul Hamid, pass me the pen please. And we understand Abdul Hamid is what? Munada. So an alam is very easily understandable or understood to be a munada. So, oh Yusuf, a'rid an hadha, turn away from this, ignore them. Correct? So in these two places, you can remove the harfun nida when it's an mudaf mudaf ilay, because it's qarina lafziya shows that the harfun nida is mahdhuf. And when you have an alam, then the qarina ma'nawiya shows that the alam is the harfun nida is mahdhuf. In other place, you can't say wala yajuzu hazfuhu ma lafzil jalala. You can't say Allahu and in our text and then assume that the word ya is mahdhuf. Similarly, if you have nakira maqsuda, you're calling somebody with not an alam. You say ya rajul. Like there's a person, like you're in a shop. So ya rajul is a waiter. So ya nadil. So you can't remove that. You can't remove that. Maybe we do it in our language, but really, you're not supposed to. Yes, in written Arabic, you can't say rajul. You say ya rajul. Are you following me? Acha, moving on. Acha. What's the i'rab of the munada? Correct? So the munada is a maf'ulun bihi of ad'u. Correct? Therefore, what's it going to be if it's maf'ulun bihi? Mansub. Now the mansub is either going to be either lafzan or mahallan. When it's lafzan, when is it lafzan? When it's mudaf. Ya Abdullah, ay ad'u Abdullahi, ad'u fa'il, ya is qaim maqam ad'u, abda is mudaf, mansub, maf'ulun bihi, mansubun, lafz jalala is mudafun ilay. So ya Abdullah is mansub. Or shabihan bil mudaf. When it says shabihan bil mudaf, what does it mean? The mudaf is an amil fi ma ba'dahu, isn't it? The mudaf is what? And it's an amil, isn't it? What does it make the mudaf ilay? Majroor. So if another noun resembles the, it's not a mudaf, but it resembles the mudaf. How does it resemble the mudaf? That it also makes ma ba'dahu is an amil. Ay? So shabihan bil mudaf ay fil amali. So shabihan fima. Shabihan means it resembles, isn't it? So straight away we should ask the question, resembling in what? So if you have a noun which resembles the mudaf in governing another noun, that can also be what? That will also have i'rab bi mansub lafzan. For example, ya ghafiran dhunubana. Now ghafiran is mansub mahallan. Sorry, mansub lafzan. Why? Because ghafir is ghafir mudaf. No, but it's shabihan bil mudaf. How is it shabihan bil mudaf? It resembles the mudaf. How does it resemble the mudaf? That is an amil. Ya'malu fi ma ba'dahu. Dhunubana is a maf'ul bihi of ghafiran. So in this scenario, you'll say, well, ya ghafiran dhunubana is also going mansub lafzan. So a mudaf or a shabihun bil mudaf. What is shabihun bil mudaf? Is that noun which governs the ma ba'dahu. So in these two scenarios, we'll have a mansub lafzan. You will see the fatha, Abdullah ghafiran dhunubana. Ya Allah, ya ghafiran dhunubana. Correct? Or if you're calling somebody ghayr mu'ayyan. So let's take an example here. Let's say you have munada. Okay. Right. So let's go back over here. This is not a line part, but let's say we have a munada. Okay. The munada can be an alam. Ya Yusuf, Ya Abdullah, Ya Abdul Hab. It can be ghayr alam. When it's ghayr alam, it will either be maqsuda or ghayr maqsuda. Okay? Now, let's say for example, I say Ya Zaid, alam. Or I say Ya Rajul. So I know what is a person there. I know he's a man, I just don't know his name. Let's say for example, class, Ya Talib. I know you're student, Marjasa. I forgot your name. Ya Talib. So I'm calling you. Are you following? Do you understand? So that's what? It's not alam, but it's maqsuda. You following? What is it? It is what? Maqsuda. I know who I'm calling. I'm calling you. Ya Talib. Ya Ustaz. Ya Sa'iq or driver. Yes? You following? And sometimes I'm calling, I'm not calling one particular person. I'm addressing like a general addressee. Are you following? So one is, let's say I call you, say, Ya Talib al-ilmi. تعال أكلمك. Come, I want to speak to you. And one is I'm doing a lecture. I say, يا طالبا للعلم أما الكسر يطلب العلم. Who am I talking to? Everyone. I'm not saying, oh, you طالب علم. I'm not saying you طالب علم, you طالب علم. What am I saying? يا طالبا للعلم. Any طالب, oh طالب علم, your طالب علم. Is ilm acquired with laziness? Are you following? So that's now غير معين. I'm not talking about person A, person B, person 3. It applies to any single person who's طالب للعلم. So for example, يا غافلا والموت يطلبه. Let's say I'm talking to you. I say, يا غافل. I'm talking to you, يا غافل. And I'm doing a general lecture, talking to anybody, like a poem or addressing somebody. يا غافلا والموت يطلبه كيف تعصي الإله. I'm talking about any person who is غافل. This is called غير معين. This is what? A غير معين, unspecified. Is that clear to everybody? So in these three scenarios, when it is مضاف شبيه بالمضاف غير معين, in these places the word will mansoob lafzan. You will see a fatha on the word. What will you see? A fatha on the word. However, in the following cases, this becomes what? Mabni. So it's mabni. Now, we'll do this later on. Just a little note here. Some words are mabni lafzan, and some slots are mabni. Are you following? هذا. What is it? What kind of word is this? اسم الإشارة. معرب مبني. مبني. If it's فاعل, is it مبني? If it's مفعول به, is it مبني? If it's مضاف إليه, is it مبني? If it's منادى, is it مبني? So the word هذا is مبني, أي the لفظ. رجل, is it معرب مبني? معرب. Let's say يا رجل. يا رجل. What become now? منادى. منادى مفرد, the slot is مبني. That slot, whatever, if a mu'rab word comes as a munada, a word is not mudaf, not shabihan bil mudaf, or not what? غير معين. When you put it in the munada slot, it becomes mabni. Are you following? So the slot makes the word mabni in terms of i'rab. Similarly, la nafi jins, some say la rajula is mabni al fath. Some say mansub, some mabni fath. So rajul is what? Mu'rab mabni. It's mu'rab. But when you make it the ism of la, the ism of la slot is what? Mabni. So normally you have so we didn't discuss this before, but think of this now in your mind. That most mabni are by i'timadi lafz, kalima. The kalima itself is mabni. But there's certain slots are mabni. When a mu'arab word comes in that slot, it becomes what? Mabni. One of them is the munada. So now for yubna ala ma yurfa'u bihi. The mahalli. When you have a word which is munada, you have a word which is what? Munada. Then yubna ala ma yurfa'u bihi. It becomes mabni ala al-rafa'. وهو المفرد, which is not مضاف or شبيه بالمضاف. المعرفة أو النكرة المقصودة. Whether it's معرفة, like يا زيد وزيد, the معرفة نكرة. معرفة. يا رجل, معرفة نكرة. نكرة, but it's مقصودة. Like, I don't know who he is, but يا رجل, يا رجل. I'm calling that person رجل. So now, these are محلا, what are they? محلا. Mansoob because maf'ul bihi of ad'u. But lafzan, what did they become? Mabni. Mabni on what? The alamatul rafa. Wherever the alama of rafa is, that becomes the mabni. So, what's the marfu form of rajul? Rajulu. What's the mabni form? What's the marfu form of jewel? Rajulan. The plural for ya, muslimun. Yes? So, mabni ala dam in ma'rifa, mabni ala dam here, mabni ala al-alif, and mabni ala al-waw. And the reason they call it mabni because they only have one. When it's mu'arab, usually has two, like ya zaydun. Because now got two letters, only got one. Even la nafi jins. La rajula fil bayt. It's not la rajula fil bayt, la rajula. Because only got one fatha, some of the grammarians say it's now become mabni. The stop becomes mabni. So in this it becomes mabni ala alamat al-raf'i, and lafzan it becomes, lafzan it's mabni, and mahallan is going to be mansoob. Is that clear to everybody? Does that make sense? This chart should summarize it hopefully. So if the munada is ma'rifa, mudaf abdallah, mansoob. Ya ghafiran ibadahu, that's going to be mansoob. Or if it's an alam, maqsuda or ghayr maqsuda, is zaydu rajulu becomes mabniya alamat al-rafa, mansoob mahallan. And if it's ghayr maqsuda, it becomes mansoob. So here's bi'tibar so this is mansoob, Because it's what? Mudaf. Shabih mudaf, and this is what? Ghair maqsuda. So these are mudaf. And then the mabni is what? When it's an alam or it's maqsuda, it's mahallan. What? Mahallan mansub lafzan mabni ala alamati rafa. Yes? Is that clear? Okay. Next rule we're discussing. The next rule we're discussing is al-munada al-mudafu ila ya al-mutakallim. If we have a munada and the mudaf, but it is mudaf and the mudaf ilayhi is ya al-mutakallim, it has a few different rules, a few different ahkam. What are these rules and ahkam? Number one, يجوز في المنادى المضاف إلى ياء المتكلم وجوه. When we have a munada which is mudaf ilayh, not just normal mudaf ilayh, but the mudaf ilayh is ya al-mutakallim, there are a few different ways we can approach this in terms of i'rab. Number one, hazful ya'i wal iktifa'u bil kasra. Remove the ya al-mutakallim and just suffice on the kasra. You have enough intelligence to understand that it's only majroor because what? The ya al-mutakallim is gone. So ya ibadi fattaqoon, oh my servants, fear me. Originally was what? Ya ibadi. Number two, thubutul ya'i. You keep the ya, but you keep it as what? Sakin. Ya ibadi la khawfun alaykumul yawm. So our qira'ah is what? Ya ibadi. Okay, if you say, I'm not going to win that next subject. I think it's ya ibadi. I think in Nafi and Ghayrihi is ibadi, ya ibadiyah. Like, oh, is it ya ibadi as well? Huh? Yeah, I don't know. Some qira'ah is ya ibadi, some is ya ibadiyah. I'm not going to confuse anybody right now. Yes, some qira'at are ya ibadi, some ya ibadiyah. So the ya ibadi is what? Sukun. Thubutul ya'i maftuhatan. Or ya ibadiyya alladhina asrafu ala anfusihim. So you can have here. One is hazful ya, or you can have thubutul ya. And thubutul ya bi sukun or thubutul ya bil fatha. And number four, you can change the kasra to a fatha. You change the kasra to a fatha and the ya to an alif. Ya hasrati, ya hasratai, ya hasrata. And this is normally when it's not a haqiqi nida. It's more to do with expression of grief, sorrow. So ya hasrata ala ma farratna, ya hasrata. Yes, ya waylata, ya waylati, ya hasrati. Anything else? So in this bit is not really calling somebody, but it's expression of emotion. You have ya hasrata. Are you following me? Acha. Is that clear? Acha. We have tarkheemul munada. What do we have? Tarkheem of the munada. What does tarkheemul munada mean? You shorten the munada. Even our language, like we shorten names, don't we? Like, I don't know. Like, for example, you have Abdullah, it's Abdul. Some people shorten it. So, when can you shorten the name? So, tarkheem. You have a munada. So, at-tarkheemu hazfu akhiril munada lit-takhfif. Is to remove the last letters or letters of the munada to make it shorter. Nahu ya Fatima. Instead of ya Fatima tu, you say ya Fatima. You have fatha on the meme. Drop the ta marbuta. Okay. Now, where is tarkheem permissible? Are you guys following? Acha. Where is tarkheem permissible? Where is tarkheem possible? Tarkheem is possible when the word ends in a ta marbuta. For example, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he also said ya Aishu. He said ya Aisha too. He said ya Aishu. Are you following? Like a bit short way of expressing your love. Yes? So al-makhtoom bi ta. So when a word ends in the ta, so nahu ya Aishu. Or al-alamul mudhakkar. If the alam is what? Masculine. Al-za'idu ala thalathati ahruf. And this is more than 3. But it's not murakkab, not like Abdullah. If Abdullah, you won't do that. But if it's what? Not murakkab and has more than 3, what can you do? Drop the last letter. Ya Ja'faru becomes Ya Ja'fu. Now, for example, you want to say Zainu, Ya Zainu in Zainab. Why you can't say Ya Zainab? Because it's not alamul mudhakkar. Are you following? It has to be alamul muannas makhtoom bi ta. Yes? You can't say Ya Zaidu because it's not more than 3. And you can't say Abdullah, you can't do tarkheem Abdullah because it is murakkab. So you only allowed to do a muannas name that has a ta at the end, or mudhakkar name that has more than 3 letters, and it's not a mudaf ilayh structure, or even a Murakkabi Majd structure. Okay? And you can also do Tarkheem. Now when you have, what's the I'rab going to be? Two possibilities. Just keep it as it was before. Al-harakatul asliya wa hiya al-awla. If you have, for example, Ya Harithu. Ya Harithu. So, what do you drop the tha and say Ya Hari? So his name becomes Hari. Yes? So Ya Harithu becomes Ya Hari. Because Ya Harithu, Ya Hari. Or, you assume Hari is a new word and then we say Ya Haru. You following? So this is al-asli. So you just drop off the tha and then keep it as this Ya Hari. Or you assume Hari to be a new word and say Ya Haru. Understood? Yeah, okay. Okay. Now the word Allahumma. So the last masala is regarding Allahumma. The word Allahumma is sighatu nida' al-jalala. Is used to call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now again, the asal we don't know what it is. The asal is we don't know what it is. For example, asluhu ya Allah. What is the asal? Ya Allah. And some say huzifa min harf nida. You take off the ya, you put a mim at the end, and ya Allah becomes Allahumma. That's one tawjid. That's why it seems that it may have come from before. Wallahu a'lam. Yes, that's one tawjid that I've mentioned, very common way. That is really ya Allah with Allahumma. The ya replaces the mim. قد تقع كلمة اللهم. However, Allahumma is also used not for addressing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like how we say, oh my God, Ya Allah, ta'ajjub. Yes? Or we do qasam, we do qasam, like Allah, seriously, Allah. So similarly, the word Allahumma can be used in two other places, not to call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but to express something else. You can say Allah, Allahumma illa. What can you say? Allahumma illa. وَيَدُلُّ عَلَى نُدْرَةِ الْمُسْتَثْنَى. And this shows how rare the mustasna is. For example, you can say, for example, هَذَا الْعَالِمُ لَا يَدْخُلُ السُّوقَ. He's just so busy with teaching. He doesn't go to the market. He's just teaching at home. He's old. People do shopping for him. When he was young, he used to do everything. When he's old, he's like, أي لا تراه في السوق اللهم إلا أن يكون كذا. Wow, unless. So it's إلا يكون كذا, but before you say اللهم إلا يكون كذا. That's like extraordinary. Maybe. Or like, for example, it's not permissible. اللهم إلا يكون كذا. So the Allahumma illa shows it's illa, really, but the Allahumma is like, wow, it's rare. Similarly, I say, هل أنت مستعد للامتحان؟ نعم, boring. Allahumma na'am. Like a custom almost on the na'am. Yes, I'm ready. Looking forward to it. Yes, Allahumma na'am. So, قد تقع كلمة اللهم قبل كلمة نعم ويدل على تيقن المجيب للجواب. It shows that the mujib, the one who is giving the answer, he is mutayaqqin, he's firm on his jawab. For example, Allahumma na'am. Allahumma na'am. Yes? So these are some of the rules of nida. There's a bit more. There's also istighatha and nudba. We'll do that inshallah separately videos. Even though it's linked to munada and nida, but we'll do it separately so it's like a separate video, easy to follow inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdi subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.